nice to see you all here, and thanks for coming and giving your time and attention to this fireside chat. I'm very pleased today on the Date with Tech podcast. We're discussing the digital triad of the UAE, AI, circular economy, and the future of capital. My guest today is His Excellency Maher Al Kaabi. He's the independent board member and the group chairman, advisor to Al Kaabi Group, member of the UAE Circular Economy Council, a visionary leader and seasoned banker with deep experience in the IT industry. His Excellency Al Kaabi will be sharing his insights on the digital triad and how AI, circular economy principles and capital markets are increasingly interconnected in the UAE's vision for the future. Your Excellency, welcome. It's a pleasure to have you with us. We would like to start with a brief introduction, if you would like to introduce yourself or say a couple of words.
Sure.
To get the acquaintance with the audience.
Well, first, I think I'm a student of computer engineer for a very long time. I just told you now, I was making games in my teens. That was my passion, not because of love of a game, but just to make sure, because it's challenging to make games as such. Of course, had a first startup company in IT back in 1993, which was sheer luck, not designed for, unfortunately, and then moved into Citibank for about 15 years with roles locally, regionally, internationally. From faith perspective, I had to leave Citibank and went to Islamic banking. I was the global head for Islamic banking at Emirates MBD, where I was also looking at the CEO role, Chief Operating Officer for wholesale banking, and which is the company co-founded Emirates MBD back in 1961. So I sit now on the board of Al Kaabi Group, who co-founded many companies within the international arena and locally, particularly Etisalat, Diwa, Siwa, insurance company, Pepsi, the metros. We are actually the OEM provider. We're the sole agent for Etihad Rail. We do smart mobilities. We also have a circular economy vertical completely, where we take certain waste of food establishment and we recircle them back into the economy. We just opened a plant for a biofuel in Abu Dhabi, which is a collaboration with the Abu Dhabi government. We're being humbled enough to be invited by many governments locally and internationally to come and open similar plants over there as well. So we've signed quite a number of MOUs. Just to fast forward as well, out of passion of tech, we're trying to build our own predictive models in order to get to know the waste faster so we can address them, so we can reduce the carbon emission and the greenhouse emission and the methane emission. We're trying to also build on the journey of digital twins, even going to have factories across the globe. Then it's important for us to understand these factories, what they're doing remotely, so we can also have the advantage of doing proactive maintenances for them.
Great. That's quite an impressive background and very deep experience and versatile expertise that I think that you bring to the table. So if I can take this question in a more controversial aspect. You're coming from the private sector and the public sector as well. You hold both sides and both hats. Being part as an advisor to the chairman and the group board member of the Al Kaabi Group, how do you see the private sector balancing the profitability with circular economy? Because a lot of private sector companies, a lot of them, they're just putting this sustainability, circular economy, and sustainability. I'm not just talking about environmental sustainability, but I'm talking about societal sustainability, the ecosystem as a whole, together on a personal level, human level, society level, and environmental level as well. Most of these companies and corporates, they just put it as a political agenda or ticking the box because they are mandated to talk about it or to address it or to just show it on their reports and balance sheets. So how do you see the private sector balancing the profitability, because this is what they care most about, with the circular economy?
Sure, and I think it's rightfully so. I mean, if you're not sustainable, doing business sustainably, then you will not get the revenues, you will not be able to put back. From global perspective, there's been a lot of push for companies to be sustainable. And ESG came in something to be very important, but not only environmental, but societal, and all the other shebang comes with these SD17. But because regulation has been very strong, and I just came in from a keynote speaking in Austria. I left Europe when I was working over there back in 2008. We're still highly regulating over there. So this is like people and politicians I meet, they're kind of in a quagmire. How do we make sure we move away from whatever they are today in terms of really practicing things? Now, the companies are trying to do it, but the government is not really a helping hand. What we try, if we zoom into UAE and GCC particularly, I think we're trying to do it a bit differently, i.e. we're not putting regulation to become a stifle for any innovation. So all the policies we put in for the last, let's say, 10, 15 years, it was always engaging the private sector. So one of the things we do, for example, in the council, we invite private sectors who are subject matter expert if we want to discuss any policy. So in the first cohort, we issued 22 policies. And all these 22 policies were in consultation with private sectors who had the expertise in respective fields. We've also, not only that, we've invited academia, and I believe academia plays an amazing role, and I sit as a chair of a couple of schools, I sit on the board of universities, which will help to actually permeate whatever we're trying to do. Now we're working on the second cohort of another 22 policy we wanted to do. Now, what we do overall is how do we incentivize and put a carrot approach first before we actually use a stick approach? So if you remember the plastic charges, we started saying that Abu Dhabi was charging half a dirham for per plastic and Dubai is 25 fils. But there was a period before we charged, we tried to make sure that there was awareness built up that this is coming up. So that's what we're trying to do. We do not want to make policies which are saying that tomorrow you need to do this thing, otherwise it's going to really not help. Now, from investment perspective of the companies, how they're balancing it out, I think COP28 was a good turning point for a lot of companies in UAE to build awareness. To be honest with you, this is still work in the process. There are certain companies, large companies, understand the importance and the value of these things because they also understand that the new generation, not all of them, but quite a number of them, are more inclined to buy products which are probably environmentally friendly. So one way they're pushed to make sure that the products are environmentally friendly and what they're giving back to society, the societal impact you're trying to do in terms of people and so forth. And they also have the social responsibility in them. Now, UAE has been forefront when it comes to societal impact from a very long time ago. I mean, the founder of the country, Sheikh Zayed, when it comes to environment, he planted about 150 million trees during his time. When he was building trees back in 60s and 70s and 80s in the desert, his people asked him, Your Highness, what are you trying to do? Are you building trees in the desert? Why are you trying to do that? He said, I'm building trees because I'm part of the environment. I need to make sure that they give back to the environment. So the businesses have that acumen and they're building on. Is it a perfect scenario today with the businessmen? Definitely not. But I think they're on their way, on the road of making that happen. And as you can see from an example of solar panel, 20 years ago, they were completely unaffordable. Very difficult for people to acquire them, except if you're a large company. Today, you can even order them online. So they understand that as the technology permeates, as the usage of this thing happen, the cost will reduces, and then people will be able to adopt these technologies.
Exactly. This was a very wide explanation of the whole narrative. So let me take it to the governmental public sector now. So being part of the UAE Circular Economy Council, and the UAE is one of the first, if not the first government to have an AI minister, which was really impressive. And I think from the time when we were working with the Dubai Future Foundation, they were discussing having the AI minister being a robot, being an algorithm, being an AI bot that will literally sit on the table with the cabinet ministers and do all the reasoning and make the decisions and discuss different things. In the UAE government, how do you make sure that everybody in the government understands AI? Not just catching on the hype or not just nodding their heads and saying yes, yes, because they have to say it. They have to appear that they are catching up on the new trends or they are in line with the agenda. Because I might like it, but I still don't really grasp it. A lot of people might be in this position and they are a little bit to say, oh, we're still falling behind. We still need more education, orientation, or to get more acquainted with it. So how do you make sure that everyone in the government understands it?
I think this is a challenge for every single country and a company, which is what? A cultural change. How do you play with culture? How do you make sure everybody actually want to do what the leaders want to do? So the journey of digitizing the economy did not really start in 2017 when we were the first to appoint the AI minister. The journey goes back, if you could take a flashback to 1995. How many of you are actually been here since 1995? Only three people. So let me then tell the story. The Prime Minister, Sheikh Mohammed bin Rashid, who's the ruler of Dubai, In 1995, he wanted to turn Dubai government into e-government. And Sheikh Mohammed is very direct in his approach. He does not sugarcoat anything. So he took all his N-1, N-2, N-3 to Jumeirah Hotel, nearby. And he told them, look, we're going to be going now to e-government, offer all our services electronically, so we make it easier for our people within the government and also as public. However, the journey is not going to be easy. It's going to be a bumpy ride because you're trying to work with the culture mindset over here for people to change and adopt technologies now. But he said, look, if you're with us, then we welcome you on board. And if you cannot, we respect for whatever service you've done. The next sentence was, or next 2 words was, please resign. As simple as it is. He did not sugarcoat it. We will see you, we'll always, he said, just simply resign. That's it. It's broadcasted. You can Google it on YouTube. You can still find that YouTube over there. So the journey started back in 1995. So the government officials, the people in the government, were actually getting tuned to adopting technology. And that's where I think we're always blessed to say that we have leaders who had the foresight that the government over here leads and the private sector follows. In other parts of the world, is the private sector follows, which is the norm, and government sectors hopefully support sometime, but in some part of the world, they actually pull them back with the regulation. So for that to happen, you need to make sure that there is someone who's responsible to make that change happen. So appointment of AI minister itself was a very milestone. And that tells you the foresight of it, because while AI predates to 1648, we were working in AI models since early 2000 in my previous jobs. We were building models and machine learning models. So it's there, but it was not really common for people to understand. It's only ChatGPT came and made the GUI very simple for us to use, which is in November 2022. So what they did after appointment, that tells you the foresight the government has, that they know that what technology is going to come, so they've been working on it for a very long time. The second thing they've done, they had this AI strategy for the UAE, combining all the ministries and other state government, federal government and state government as well, to make sure that all works together in tandem. So there's an overall AI strategy for that thing. But not only AI, but all the other technologies, but AI is the umbrella being used. Third, it was all about how do we reskill people? Because you've touched upon something very important. I have to do it, but I don't like it, I don't grasp it. So it's important that we reskill your people for them to understand the fundamentals of these technologies. What is the benefit of technology? Because the first thing happens, the moment you hear a word from your leader saying, digitize, oh, my job is at risk. That's a normal human phenomenon. You always have a fear, risk of in you saying, look, if that's going to happen, I'm going to become jobless. So they had to make sure that the government official understand that this is going to be a benefit for you and for humanity and overall societal impact of it. So those building blocks was very important. The third thing was, what are the use cases we're going to use? So the government were the use cases and the testbed themselves. So the government services had to become very smart. So the blockchain technology was introduced. So the Dubai government was the first government globally for all their 1,900 services are actually on blockchain. Earlier, all the 15 departments of UAE, or Dubai, I should say, they were all fragmented, i.e. they're maintaining separate ledgers. So if you go and update in one department, it was not connected. So with blockchain, you made it available.
Yeah, I remember the time when we were discussing this in the Dubai blockchain strategy, back when consensus came here through the World Economic Forum, and they were transitioning more than 50% of the government transactions on blockchain or decentralized ledger technology. And at that time, it was a lot of reports and a lot of blueprints and a lot of guides of walkthrough to understand what is blockchain really is and how it can serve. So it's the same for AI. When you involve people, they understand. There's a Chinese proverb that says, tell me and I'll forget. Show me and I may remember. Involve me and I will understand. So I think the involvement of all the stakeholders, either outsiders or insiders, is very crucial for the ship to sail in the right direction and not to have any kind of glitches.
If I can add to that quickly, I know you probably have a series of questions. In the group where I stay, the first thing we did is I knew that digital journey has to be something very important. But I cannot tell them I need to do the digital journey because they'll say, okay, he's a board member, he's telling us so we need to do it, and there will be a lot of resistance. So we did not say anything about digital journey. We didn't say what should be our values. The first thing we did is took them to offsite, make them say, what do we want to be, what do we need to be known of? And they came up with 5 key things. And one of them, we need to be digitizing our processes. So when they say to you, of course, sometimes you don't get what you want, So you need to try some certain ideas where you can ask leading questions. And those leading questions would hopefully will take you to what you want to achieve. And when they tell you that we want to digitize, we want to adopt this technology and so forth, now they're on board themselves because they own it, because it came from them and not from you as a direction. So that makes a difference. But no, UAE government works a bit different. His Highness says we want to get this to be done, so that's a different approach. That's another approach to be done.
Yeah. Actually, you just answered two questions in one. Because my next question was how the UAE is transitioning from linear to circular economy.
Okay.
And you've just mentioned how the government is getting self-integrated into the paradigm of AI, also IoT, because it has to do a lot with AI, and how all of this will drive the circular economy, not the linear economy. So this was something that I wanted to emphasize a little bit more, the transition from linear to circular. And in my point of view, from dealing with two sides of the world, the Asian and the Eastern part and the Western European and American part, the linear is more, the West is more linear, while the East is more circular. And I'm not talking here just about business and finance, I'm talking about the mentality,
mindset.
the culture. Everything in the West is more linear, more serious, you know, like following upward. In the East, if you go to Asia, China, Japan, like the philosophy, the mentality, the cultures, the feelings, the passions, the emotions, the social interactions, which translates into business, because we are people in the end dealing in business. So when somebody says, no, it's business, not personal, I say, no, it's personal and business, and personal comes first.
Indeed.
So now with the West falling more into the Eastern circularity, how do you see the shift of Dubai being the hub and the cross of the roads between both?
And I know I'm going to say, and you understand this quite a lot because of your work and what you have been doing since you were probably almost teenager. If you go back to your grandparents, depending on your age, they were really circular in nature. They wouldn't waste anything. They would make sure everything becomes circular. Give you a simple example. If there was any food waste, for us it was impossible to have food waste from my mother time, so I'm not even going to my grandmother time. We would be punished, by the way. And she would keep the food in the fridge for a week. It gets rotten, it's still in the week, and you still get to eat it by mixing it somewhere else. But what happens, sometimes you get abundance of wealth, you derail. Because you have a lot of money now, you derail, you start buying so many clothes, start wasting food and water. And unfortunately, we're one of the nations who are quite to do with a lot of wastage. But I think we're trying to go back to the whole thing. You've also mentioned in the beginning something very, very interesting, and I always mention in my keynote and panel discussions. We're not doing this for the political agenda. We're doing this because we believe we're part of this environment, and it is important for us that God has given us all this abundance of resources that we actually should make sure we maximize the use of these resources. So if any change needs to happen before government comes in play, which is very important part to do, I humbly ask you, you need to start from home. How many of you as your parents and loved ones actually teaching your children on sustainability and circularity? Show of hands. Okay, thank you for your honesty. I'm not sure about the others. It's less than 50%, it's only 20% roughly, or 15%. So my message is, humble message, start from your home. If you have children or if you have loved ones, start building there. Because remember, if we believe environmental challenges are here to stay, it's not only teaching ourselves, it's also going back home to education system as well, where universities and also schools, we need to put this curriculum over there. So that's one of the things UAE has done. 2 years ago, during COP and before COP and after COP as well, the former Minister of Climate Change, Her Excellency Maher Al Kaabi, ran a government program across all public schools to make sure that how do we embed circularity into the curriculum. One of the schools I chair, we did not want to make it a science subject or a unit in a science subject, because science teaches you quite a lot on recycling, reuse, that's there. But it's not something in the DNA of a school, so we had to change the entire school. So she led that, and of course there was a lot of things happening. But in terms of policies, going back, echoing what I said earlier, is how do we involve the stakeholders? How do we make sure? So I'm working on a program now with Harvard University. I sit on their advisory board on one of the things. We've involved the ministry, we involved the Circle Council, we involved the private players, the academia, to come up with a policy on one simple thing, packaging. which is like, abundantly packaged are getting wasted. So we're taking one item at a time and resolving that. This is what the UAE is trying to balance it out to make it circular. And I can tell you safely, we're actually made quite a lot of stride in that. If you look at the policy of becoming circular by 2023, there are 4 key segments that we're investing heavily on them, and we make sure that we make them very circular in nature. And most of the governmental companies are actually a quantum leap in that. I know the time is short for me to give you examples, but Google them and see what they're doing in sustainability. Some of the companies are actually light year ahead when it comes to circularity and what innovative stuff they have came up, whether it's EMAL, which is aluminum producing company, whether it's DP World because of the freight and shipping and so forth. They're doing a fantastic job.
So you're giving examples now of Google, of Amar, of DP World, Dubai Ports World, because this was the last question that I was going to ask you, to give us examples, whether from the UAE or globally, about circularity and circular economy. What are the best examples so the audience here can just go and research them? It can be like an assignment or a homework for you to go and research what examples grasp the attention of the UAE government and private sector as well.
Let's start with DIWA, with one of the companies that we co-founded back in 1963. If you look at this, after installing the smart grid, I mean, that was a very important step to do, an investment by the government to do. Why? Because remember, they're coming up with solar panels, and this Mohammed Merasid Shams project that they're going to be about 5 gigawatt producing. So how do you integrate that to your traditional source of power? If you don't have a smart grid, which will tell you from data and all these things, because you don't have storage, then the storage was not there. How do you make sure you maximize the use of your solar panel during the daytime when the sun is there, vis-a-vis your traditional fossil fuel energy you have? So with the smart grid, you're able actually to use, with the AI technology and smart sensors and IoT, you're able to now actually send the required electricity requirement to your particular factories using those technology smart grids. Even at home, for example, now, if you have any water, which is an excess use of, let's say, 10 or 15%, you get an SMS, you get an email saying, look, you've been using more water. I have been getting this quite a lot, sometimes because I've got a bit of large garden, and sometimes some of the pumps don't work and the leakage happens. So because of that now, I'm getting those messages. I'm able to call the company to come and fix it quickly so I can minimize my wastages. Is it the perfect solution? Definitely not, because I want to know it instantly. I don't want to know it after 3 days. But that's a road where they started. DIWA, Dubai Electricity Water Authority, if you look at their investor publication, is one of the least when it comes to waste company globally as an electricity water authority company. When it happens, it's less than 5%. It used to be about 80% in 1980s. Now with the smart technology they have, it's less than 5%. It's about 3%. If you look at the last investor report.
Okay, that's quite impressive. So me personally, I'm going to be like rehearsing these examples again, like DIWA, Google, and DP World. I have a lot to do with DIWA because the head of AI there is a very dear friend. So I would grasp his mind on a lot of what you have mentioned. So to finalize this fireside chat and make it brief, easy, and crisp, from the investor's point of view, can you give us a blueprint, like 1, 2, 3 bullet points, how investors can frame the value creation in the business models when it comes to circular economy, like how to consider circular economy in the business model and to frame the value creation within it?
Depending on the size of the investment you do and how large is the company and what can you afford. But keep an end goal in your mind. Whatever you want to do, you need to have clarity why you want to do it. Of course, you're in it for the money, definitely, and that should be a goal, an important goal. And I said, it's all about the 3 P's to be there. One of them, profitability. If you're not profitable, you're not going to be sustainable. That's an important formula to have. But another why it's important for you to do, it's you're doing it for the planet. And that's an important goal and why clarity you need to have. You're doing it also for the people. These are the 3 P's over there. So when you keep that in your mind, it's easier for you to do. And remember, investment will pay back. One of the groups that we started, company we started in terms of waste management, remember, it was really, it's not a public information, but we partner with, our strategic partner is Dubai Municipality, so they know it very well. For the first almost 11 years, we were losing money on aggregate. And when I joined the board and asked the chairman, I said, you're losing money over here. How are you sustainable? Why are you still keeping the company running? He said, look, I'm here for the long term. My family legacy built all these beautiful companies within the country. I want to make sure that I give back to the society, I give back to the company. I will make money eventually in the future. I'm not making money now, but I'm seeing the foresight in the future. And eventually, of course, we turn profitable after almost 11 years of being negative. That's not an easy thing to do. I'm not saying that become negative for the 11 years, but I'm giving you a story for you to know how people thought about it. So think of it long term. There are many innovative ideas that are coming up where you can become probably immediately profitable in the first or second 2 years. Come and speak to the government, approach them, tell them what technology you have. Maybe you'll get an incentive from the government because you're working with the technology, which is very unique, because we're inviting usually bright minds from globally to come and work with us, and we're always there to support them with it. So those are different ways of getting things done.
Yeah, I thank you for this, and I would like as well to highlight that long-term can be relative from one company to the other, from one sector to the other. 1 year can be a long-term for one sector or one size of company, while it can be the short-term for other, and vice versa. And if you allow me to add my humble view on sustainability, look always on the long term, no matter what the time span of that long term for you might be. But in business, and I've learned it in so many ways, easy ones and hard ones, those who just compromise on things just for their own immediate advantage and gains in the moment, they just get caught up in this circle of being always on stress, always running against timelines, always searching for the next deal to strike, for the next pile of cash to record on the P&L account. And I don't see this going with anybody to anywhere they would like to be, even if they don't see it or even if they claim otherwise. Always give to receive and always help to get helped. I would have loved that our lives would be sustainable for eternity. Everybody likes to be immortal, but let's face the truth. I know I'm too young to say that, but 50, 60, 70 years from now, we're not going to be here. So what are we stressing about? Always look for a place you want to be in the long term. Don't buy into cheap dopamine or don't rush into the euphoria. Look at the destination you're arriving at. Not everything that shines is gold, and appearances are almost, if not always, deceiving. So always look at the impact that's coming on you and on the others, because we're not living alone. No man is an island.
So and balance it out. I mean, nobody's telling you turn you completely 180 degrees at once. Understandable, because business at the end need to be sustainable. But put in your, I would say, long strategy, how can you create an impact investment, which is very important, and use the technology to your advantage of what you want to do. I mean, just last week, Japan, one of the universities over there, they're able to create electricity from air, moisture, by putting in the box and making the nanoparticles collide together. And if that goes through, you mean you have stifled abundant of technologies. People are innovating using of nuclear fusion, which was probably very difficult to do, but because of AI, advent of AI being there, they're able to do a lot of scenario analysis very, very quickly. So Google, a company called Helium in the US, a startup company, who are building their first plant of nuclear fusion for Microsoft, which is going to be for 500 megawatt, which is going to be ready by end of 2027 or beginning 2028. Similarly, also quantum computing is another technology that we believe it's going to be far away. Yes, because it's very difficult to do, very expensive to do. But a month ago, roughly, a university in Australia, they're able to do actually quantum computing using one atom, which is wow. So if they're able to succeed and make it mainstream, we're probably going to have quantum computing in your mobile phones in 10, 15 years. So it's not really far away. So I think use technologies for the help of becoming sustainable. But as I echo also what you said, try to make it impactful for your life, for people and planet, or whatever you work for. These are not cliche, because the more you give out, the more you will definitely receive.
And you have to be involved in it. Like, I'm not saying just be a saint, but at the same time, don't be a devil. We can lie somewhere in the middle.
And I know it's red.
Yeah, and the question is always like, not it's better. So AI or technology don't get caught up with its hype. The question is not it's easier, is it better? Sometimes things that can make our lives easier, but it will lead us in a way that it actually will be tough. So always weigh the things, not easier, but is it better or not? And thank you for your time, and thanks for Date for having us on this fireside chat.
Thank you.